Well, here we are at long last, the final entry in the Jason Voorhees saga. Gonna be packing up my things and leaving Camp Crystal Lake after this. Probably about time though, this place has been giving me the creeps the last 12 weeks. I hope this doesn't lead straight into any nightmares. Welcome back to my look at the Friday the 13th franchise. Today I'll be looking at the reimagining of the original Voorhees tale in Friday the 13th. Freddy vs. Jason was a huge success at the box office, becoming the highest grossing entry in both Friday and Nightmare franchises. It wasn't a total hit with fans, but money talks, and a sequel was discussed for quite some time. They wanted to bring in Ash, the main character from the Evil Dead series, to fight Jason and Freddy. It never came to be, and the characters seemed to just fade away. But in the same year Freddy vs. Jason came out, Michael Bay's studio Platinum Dunes released a remake of the 1974 classic The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It succeeded beyond anyone's expectations and was quite possibly the spark in the rush of old horror movies getting remade. The Amityville Horror, Dawn of the Dead, The Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, Halloween. You. I'll get to you. Friday the 13th was unable to escape the remake trend. Damien Shannon and Mark Swift were brought back as screenwriters and decided to create a bit of a combination of the first 4 entries taking place in modern times instead of a whole movie with Pamela Voorhees killing in the 80s, because the studio knew it would be the hockey mask that would get the butts in seats. Marcus Nispel, who handled the Texas Chainsaw remake, was brought in to direct, and Derek Mears was chosen to become the new Jason. How did this recreation live up to its classic predecessors? Let's find out. The movie opens on June 13th, 1980, where Pamela is chasing down the final counselor alive, spouting off about Jason and meeting her destined demise.
You should have been watching him! Every minute!
However, we see a young Jason approach his dead mother and take her machete and locket containing their pictures, all while hearing her voice encouraging him to kill. First off, actress Nana Visitor does not make a good Pamela Voorhees. Her rantings come off as just that. Rants. I don't feel like she's this insane woman who's completely lost it over the death of her son like Betsy Palmer did. It's a poor performance as quick as it is, and not a fan that they just make the Alice character some random female counselor. She wasn't the best final girl, but damn, you did her dirty here. I'm also not sure how I feel that child Jason was actually alive and never drowned. If he survived, why did he never appear to his mom and be like, hey, I'm good? How long did Pamela wait until going on her rampage? Feels like an odd choice, but could be deemed a better explanation than adult Jason just appearing out of nowhere like in part 2. Almost 30 years later, Whitney, Mike, Richie, Amanda, and Wade are actually looking for a big old crop of weed.
We're gonna get a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, okay? So, listen to me.
Relax! I am relaxed. You wanna know why?
Why?
Because I wanna be fucking rich. You know what rich people do?
What?
They relax.
My god, Wade needs to just take his own advice and relax. Dude speaks a mile a freaking minute here. And oh goody, if you weren't paying attention, let Wade frantically tell you the story of Pamela and Jason.
Some woman, she went fucking nuts. Killed all these counselors. Blamed them for her son's drowning. He was like deformed or retarded.
Don't you remember in part 2 how Paul's campfire story was creepy and ominous?
I remember! I remember!
Whitney and Mike go off, and we find out that her mother is sick in the hospital, but more importantly, Wade goes to look for the weed after Amanda does a striptease for Richie, fake boobs and weird porno music included. Wade finds the weed after jamming out to Sister Christian, but little does he know someone else has already claimed this batch.
What the fuck? What is this?
Oh shit, Baghead, Jason is back and he ain't messing around. The moment is cool and Jason is super scary, but it is damn near impossible to see in the darkness. Whitney and Mike check out Camp Crystal Lake and explore a cabin where they find a locket with a picture in it that Mike says looks exactly like Whitney. Wonder if that'll come in handy later. Richie and Amanda have their sex interrupted and Richie finds a dead Wade while Amanda is attacked and strung up by Jason. Meanwhile, Whitney and Mike find Mrs. Voorhees' head, and Jason strikes from below, managing to kill Mike, but giving Whitney the opportunity to make a run for it. She tries to free Richie, but she's not fast enough. okay, that gives me the chills. We're introduced to a group we expect to be our main cast, but they're dispatched in like the first 20 minutes by a scary as hell Jason. Derek Mears is terrifying. He's big, brutal, and fast, a frightening combination that quite possibly makes him the most intimidating Jason of them all. It's interesting that they make him like an outdoor survivalist with his traps, stringing up Amanda, and the sneak attack on Mike. He's like Rambo in First Blood, and I'm glad to see him don the bag head again. Always found that look creepy. So while I'm not a big fan of the Pamela story retelling or Wade, Jason dominates this opening by being the badass that he is.
Motherfucker, I'm awesome!
6 weeks later, we get a whole new group of teens, including Trent, his girlfriend Jenna, Chelsea, Nolan, Bree, Lawrence, and Chewie. They're on their way to Trent's summer home when they bump into Whitney's brother, Clay, played by Supernatural's Jared Padalecki.
So you don't want to be friends after this? You don't want to hang out?
Let it go, Trent.
It's not me. This guy's being a dick.
Dean, what do you think you're doing?
Clay is pretty much a take on Rob from Part 4, but he does end up being the most likable character in the movie. He's stopped by Officer Brack, who tells Clay they haven't found any evidence of Whitney's whereabouts and suggests she may have ran away with her boyfriend. Clay reveals their mother died, and Whitney didn't show up to the funeral, which is completely uncharacteristic of her, so his search continues. The teens arrive at Trent's house, and for the most part, this group is lame. I mix up their names a lot, and they look like they're straight out of an Abercrombie and Fitch catalog. You've got hot girls, stoners, and the dick. That's about as far as the personalities go. Back to Clay, he asks a random local if she's seen his sister, but she has a very foreboding message for him.
She ain't missing. She's dead. We just won't be left alone. And so does he.
What the fuck does that mean?
Seriously, what the fuck does that mean? It's like she's aware that Jason is out there killing people and everyone knows to leave him alone. But Officer Brack said there's nothing they can do to find Whitney and her friends. I guess he didn't ask the crazy cat lady of Crystal Lake because she clearly knows more than anyone else. Clay's next stop is at a farm where he encounters Donnie, who adds nothing except being a disgusting hick trying to sell some weed. While Nolan and Chelsea head down to the lake, Clay shows up at Trent's house and has another bro down with him.
What's up, bro? What, bro? Sup, bro? Take a swing, bro. Right here, bro.
Jenna decides to ditch Trent and join Clay on his Whitney search. Over at the farm, Donnie has some unexpected company in Jason and has his throat slit. Jason loses his mask, even though we never get a good look at his face, but the light of heaven shines down on a new one for him. I'm not necessarily a fan of how Jason finds his hockey mask here. In part 3, we see it with Shelly briefly and don't think much of it. Then when Jason steps out onto the dock with it on, you know Shelly's dead and he's about to fuck shit up. Here he just finds it under some junk. I do like the checkout he does in the mirror, but overall it feels anticlimactic for a scene that gives us the iconic look we all love. At the lake, Chelsea is wakeboarding topless while Nolan drives Trent's boat. Nothing could possibly ruin this fun time. Ah, that is awesome. Chelsea sees Jason standing on the edge of the lake and tries to escape. Her best choice of hiding is under the dock, out of sight. Clay and Jenna scope out a cabin, but when they try to leave, they hide after noticing Jason arriving home after a long day with some dead bodies. After finding Clay's bag, Jason turns on the power, curious as to how he has electricity running through the place, and tears the place apart looking for them to no avail. Clay and Jenna escape, but trip on a wire, which reveals an alarm system in an underground tunnel where Jason has been keeping Whitney this whole time because the locket reminds him that she looks like his mom.
Jason? It's okay.
Are you fucking kidding me?
This is where a lot of fans have issues. For instance, I can't tell if Jason built the tunnel system or if it had been under the camp the whole time. I can't imagine Jason being smart enough to develop tunnels that allow him to maneuver so quickly throughout the forest. It's an odd addition that many dislike. I don't hate it because it does give an explanation as to how Jason can be at places so quickly, but like I said, is Jason smart enough to pull off such a task in building these tunnels? And Whitney being held hostage. I know they're referencing part 2 with Jason confusing a girl for his mom, but I'm not a fan of him making her his prisoner. It doesn't really strike me as something Jason would do, even if she did resemble his mom. They seem to be trying to make Jason a much smarter character in this movie, and you can see he has moments where he knows Whitney is not his mother. The second he sees through that charade, you'd think he would dispose of her, like in part 2 when he realized Ginny really wasn't Pamela and that Jason was a backwoods freak. I think this would have worked better if Whitney was in the second group of teens and used her likeness to Pamela on Jason in the end. Back at Trent's, after Chewie breaks a chair, he offers to fix it and heads down to the tool shed. Clay and Jenna show up to warn everyone and call the police, but Lawrence is super high and Trent is having sex with Bree. For obvious reasons, I can't show any of this, but this sex scene is way too over the top. It gets to the point where you feel really awkward, like you're watching a porno.
Something else that was in the original that really hasn't been in any horror movies lately, our movie has a ton of nudity in it.
They're gonna see over-the-top, unique sex scenes.
Yes, the franchise has had its fair share of sex scenes, but this one feels way too excessive for me. Meanwhile, Chewie has a run-in with a hockey-loving friend. Another good kill here that's slow and frankly hurts to watch. The power is cut and Trent has another bro down with Clay. Oh my god, would you two just kiss already? But Lawrence goes down to the tool shed to find his buddy, but all he finds is a dead Chewie and gets chased out by Jason. The remaining survivors decide that they're going to wait for the police, but still manage to make the smartest move you can make in any horror film and split up. This leads to a cool shot of Jason attacking Bree in the bathroom, but the kill is weak as he impales her on a tiny deer rack. Trent commented on her boobs earlier, calling them stupendous. Wouldn't it have been better if the antlers burst through her chest and ruined those stupendous boobs? Officer Brack arrives on the scene to save the group. There's no way this can end poorly.
Don't you ever get tired of being wrong all the time?
Clay and Jenna run off together while Trent goes his own way, passing a truck on the road. This is a weird moment. They try to build up suspense and make you think, oh my god, is Jason driving the truck? Obviously he can't drive a car, he's not Michael Myers. You know he's about to be killed and it's gotta be worth it because Trent has been such a dick the entire movie. Clay and Jenna manage to locate Jason's underground tunnels and find Whitney in the process. The three try to make their escape as Jason catches up to them. Oh, come on! I liked Jenna. I guess it's a good shock moment since you're kind of expecting her to make it out alive, but there can be only one final girl. It's a damn shame though it had to be Whitney. The brother and sister make it to the barn and try to hide, but Jason crashes through and has a brawl with Clay. Jason's about to feed Clay to the wood chipper, but Whitney stops him with the locket, telling him everything's okay and he can stop. This distraction gives Clay time to wrap Jason's neck in a chain and throw it into the chipper, hanging him up in the air in a cool recreation of the moment from part 3. He's then slowly pulled in headfirst into the chipper when Whitney delivers the final blow.
Say hi to Mommy! In hell!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
That really is one of, if not the worst things I've heard in any of these movies. The next morning, Clay and Whitney drag Jason's body down to the dock and toss him into the lake. Smart, so when the police arrive, you can tell them that the homicidal maniac you dumped in the lake is responsible for the murders of several people. The happy music is going, Jason is at the bottom of the lake, and things look bright for Clay and Whitney. Huh? Oh, shit, you got me. My overall thoughts on Friday the 13th, 2009. I kinda like it. I'll be honest, I've been hot and cold with this entry over the years. But after my most recent viewing, I really enjoyed it despite some of the issues that I have. After watching parts 7 through Freddy vs. Jason, this one felt like a breath of fresh air. It's able to combine elements from the first 4 entries, which are arguably the best, and make something that's new, but feels like an old school Friday the 13th. The whole opening before the title card is badass. We're set up with a standard group of teens that appear to be our main cast for the rest of the movie, but suddenly they're brutally picked off incredibly quickly by a baghead Jason. A design I prefer over the hockey mask in this one. Speaking of which, Jason is awesome. Derek Mears is the scariest Jason has been since Ted White. Derek had a fondness for the character growing up, and getting to play him was a dream come true. And boy, does he deliver in his performance with a strong, large, quick, and tactical Jason. I do wish we had gotten a better look at the makeup they gave him, cause it looks pretty intense. Unfortunately, we only get a dark or blurry look at it in the final version. Jason is certainly my biggest positive. We get introduced to a second batch of kids after the opening, and with the exception of Jenna, I don't like anyone here. I actually prefer the first group as a whole. The comedic relief characters aren't funny, and the girls blend in, but I guess Trent does make a good, hateable douchebag. It's a shame his death isn't as impressive as it could have been, because you're just waiting for him to get killed. The kills, they're okay. There isn't really one here I see and go, oh, total top 10 contender. Maybe the roasting sleeping bag in the beginning or arrow in the head, but every other one kind of lacks creativity, which is something you gotta have in a Friday kill. Clay is easily my favorite of the second group of people. I may be biased because I'm a Supernatural fan, but Jared does a good job at making his character likable, a memo 90% of the cast didn't get. He's a good guy determined to find his missing sister despite the police trying to deter him. I liked him with Jenna, and I felt bad for him when she was killed because you could tell he cared about her even though he's only known her for like a day. Instead, he's left with his sister Whitney, and while it's good to see Clay succeed in his mission of finding her, I would have preferred if she didn't make it out alive. That's awfully cynical of me to say, but her survival leads to some of my issues with the movie. First, I'm not crazy about the reveal of the tunnels. Again, I can't tell if Jason made that whole underground system on his own, or if it's like a mine that existed at the camp. Making it a solution to the question, how does he get everywhere so fast, seems unnecessary. I don't need to know how he does it. It's far scarier to think he's just that quick and not scurrying underground like a groundhog. Second, I don't like Jason keeping Whitney hostage. Yes, I get it. The picture of Pamela in the locket makes him believe Whitney is actually his mom. But with the new smart Jason they've created here, you'd think he'd be quick to kill the moment he realizes it's not her. We have seen he can be fooled in the past, but it's usually only for a brief amount of time. Locking someone up in his lair just doesn't come off as something Jason would even consider. Lastly, had Whitney not survived, we would have been saved from the cringe-inducing line, "Say hi to mommy." In hell. To wrap things up here, I just wanted to mention that the cinematography is well done in parts of the movie. It looks nice and clean, however, sometimes it's lit way too dark and you can't tell what the hell you're looking at. And the score is good for the scenes where things amp up, but it's ultimately forgettable and nowhere near the iconic level of the original Friday the 13th score. So while there are questionable choices made, including this new Jason's motives, unimpressionable characters, and meh kills, I enjoy the new Savage Jason Voorhees and a nice return to form of the original films. I give Friday the 13th, 2009 3.5 machetes out of 5. But what do you guys think? Was this the perfect combination of things that made the original films fun? Do you not mind the tunnel digging, hostage taking Jason? And what was your favorite kill? Don't forget to subscribe and follow my Twitter in the link below. This has been a crazy 12 weeks. This is certainly my favorite movie franchise, and I've always wanted to get my thoughts out there and talk to other fans. While this is the last entry in the series, I'm sure I'll be discussing Friday the 13th more in the future. For now, I think I just need to take a nice long rest. Uh-oh.